I'd wake up in the morning and go for a walk or do a workout before I went to school to teach. And every morning when I walked out of my house, it was one of three distinct smells. And all three of those smells were different smells of something burning. There's no trash infrastructure where I live, so everybody just burned their stuff. Literally just take your trash from the day before, put it in front of your house and light it on fire. Didn't matter if it was dirty diapers, didn't matter if it was plastic bottles. And I thought to myself, when I go home and I walk out of my house in the morning, I'm not going to smell this like trash that's burning. It's like the fresh air of Vermont, right? I wonder how long it's going to be until I start to take that for granted. What is up, everybody? And welcome back to the Schooling Struggle Podcast. It is our belief that the only guarantee in life is that we are all going to struggle. And how we choose to embrace our struggles is what empowers us to become the best versions of ourselves. How's it going? My name is Pete, coming to you from Vermont. And with me is my friend and co-host Todd, coming to you from just outside of Seattle, Washington, in a little town we like to call Tacoma. What's up, Todd?
What's up, Peter? It's not such a little town, Tacoma, but it's got some flair.
Is it bigger than Heartland? Bigger than 2,800 people?
Yeah, it's substantially. Orders of magnitude. Just a few. You might not want to stop at them. You might get shot at, but other than that, it's got flair.
So, in full transparency to the listener, oftentimes Todd and I get on. We talk about what the show is going to be about, answer any questions, clean up any loose ends, cross our T's, dot our I's before I hit the record button. And we just got on a couple seconds ago, and I said to Todd, no pre-recording chat. I just want to hit record and get right into it. And the truth of the matter is, I don't even know if we're going to keep this episode, because I think kind of the point of the podcast is, well, backing up just a little bit. When we started this thing 70, however many episodes ago, our rule was no expectations and have fun. As long as those two things are happening, let's just keep this thing rolling.
Seems to be working out pretty well.
It's been worked out really well. It's been a really good guide for me when I start to kind of get my feathers ruffled about things related to the podcast.
Nice.
And I am finding that I get so much fuel from listener contact, people reaching out to me, people that know me personally that reach out to me via text or email or see me in person and talk about stuff. I love when we drop an episode and then I wake up the next day and there's texts in my phone just about the content. It's really cool. Let me give you one fun example. Last episode we did was listener questions, and we talked about going down the YouTube rabbit hole. And I get a random text from a listener the other day who's also a friend of mine who's like, oh, my YouTube rabbit hole is watching people pop zits. And it was just people kind of relating to the content and then just talking. And oftentimes people reach out and share what they've learned, which is really cool. And I'm super grateful for that. And I encourage every listener out there to reach out because it really gives, I can speak for myself only, but it gives me fuel to keep this thing going. With that said, I think I've often shared that I believe that our greatest strength is also our greatest weakness as humans. And I think that lies for me in the fact that it's really important to me to give the people in my orbit what I feel they deserve from me. And oftentimes that wears me out. I feel my students deserve the best of what I have. My family deserves the best of what I have. And I'm finding that it's important to me to deliver this content for our listeners in a way that is both enjoyable and helpful for them. And in thinking about tonight's episode, as I always do, I want to think, how can it be enjoyable and insightful for listeners? But Todd, what I really want to do tonight is let go of that presumption and just have a good old-fashioned conversation with just you and I.
Yeah, it's nice.
And if by the end of it I decide this might not be worth sharing with the world, it'll at the very least it'll be a conversation that I've had with you, which I'm really looking forward to, because there's something that's been ruminating in my brain, and I think it's something that you either face or have faced in your life, and I'm curious to know your perspective.
Okay.
I'm not seeking answers, I'm not seeking advice, but I'm genuinely curious to know your perspective on it.
Drop it.
Okay. If we decide to keep the episode and it happens to be what I feel will be worthy of producing, hopefully the listeners can glean something off that. But if not, this is just going to be kind of a selfish endeavor to talk to you tonight. And one of the big reasons why I asked you to be my partner on this journey is because of the correspondence we had prior to really getting to know each other on this podcast platform, is I just have viewed you as such an insightful, self-reflective human, and that I can learn so much from you. And I want to take tonight as an opportunity to do that.
Let's explore. Actually, bonus points for using glean. It's not one you hear very often.
Yeah, no, it's not in my normal vocabulary. I think I got it from you.
That's nice.
Over the last 30 minutes, as I came down to prepare to have this conversation with you, I've been trying to figure out what's the best way to launch it. And I think I'll start with this. In my classes, I do a quarter of the week, and that's kind of like a mindset focus for the week. And each day, over the 5 days of the week, we look at it in different perspectives and try to apply it to our lives in different ways. And this week's quarter of the week is, if I don't take ownership over my time and attention, somebody else will. And with that in mind, I've tried to be very intentional about what gets my attention. I think one of my strengths is that I always try to maintain a 30,000-foot view and a big picture view on all the struggles that I'm facing and all the day-to-day stuff that I'm facing. And oftentimes I actually think that I beat myself up a little too much about it, because I find myself saying, well, in the big picture, this doesn't matter. Or in the big picture, you shouldn't be worried about this. Or you have so much more to be grateful for in the big picture. Why are you worrying about this? And then I beat myself up for getting upset about it because I know I shouldn't be upset about it. What I'm struggling with right now is, I think the easiest way to put it, Todd, is if I have 100 units of energy to give throughout the course of my day, I feel how I'm giving my units and what's getting my units is not in line with who I say I want to be. So I truly believe that the people in my school community deserve the best that I can give them. But oftentimes I come home and I have literally nothing left in reserves for my fitness, for my wife, and for my daughter. And this weekend, I wouldn't say it came to a head, but this weekend I just got home from school on Friday and I literally didn't have anything to give Friday night, Saturday, or Sunday. I was not physically or emotionally available for anyone, and I just used football as an excuse to do nothing. It's so important to me to build a bond with my daughter. And this weekend, I just laid there and watched football, and she played not with me, but she played around me. So she was just like happy and doing her thing by herself in the living room. And it wasn't like, I'm just going to relax and recharge and feel good about myself. It was like a guilty, like, holy crap, I got nothing left to give, and this feels awful. And since the day I met you, you've struck me as someone who takes a lot on. You have a lot of important things going on in your life. When we first met, you had a full-time job. You still, I believe, you had kids in the house. You had multiple businesses on the side. You were opening a nonprofit CrossFit gym, or gyms, multiple. You were training for yourself. You're competing or running in half marathons and these types of things. And I got to think at some point you might have dealt with, I have all these awesome things in my life. How am I going to break up my units of energy? And I struggle with, I have all these awesome things in my life. I love school and I love my family. I love fitness and I love this podcast. And I don't want to give any of it up, but I need to manage my units of energy per day better. And I've had a couple really cool conversations with people that I really trust recently about how they manage their units of energy. And I'm curious to know how you do that.
I have so many thoughts. We're going to take this right back to the first word I heard you say that keyed me in. And then you said it a few more times. It's deserves. So let's explore deserves, shall we?
Okay.
So when you say you attempt to, or you aspire to make every interaction with everybody who is in your orbit up to what you feel they deserve, to some quality bar. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So explain to me what deserve means in your mind.
I think for me, what deserves means is with every interaction I have with someone, I somehow positively impact their life. To what degree is hard for me to kind of articulate with objectivity or absolute clarity, but I feel like, go ahead.
Would a measure of that be as long as you're not negatively impacting their life?
Yeah, but I feel they deserve more than just that. I feel they deserve not just not be negatively impacted, but be positively impacted. So there's negative, there's neutral, and there's positive, right?
Okay.
I want to be above neutral.
Okay. So there's a minimum bar, and that is I'm doing something positive okay. So that takes me to my next thing. Who determines the worthiness of the positivity?
I do.
Okay. So you're holding yourself to a very high bar, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think high is subjective. Your high might be different than somebody else's high. That might be different than my high.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because I know you enough, and I've heard you say enough in different terms in different ways in different contexts about, let's take LJ for example. Like when I play with LJ, I want to be actively playing with LJ. Like I'm present in what's going on, and we're playing together more or less, right? Like I'm engaged. Let's say a couple episodes ago, maybe it was the last one. I don't know, that they all just fly right past me, but I said something about why can't you use the fact that whatever was going on there and you felt inadequate or you felt less than in that situation as a learning experience, right? Or a teaching experience, or both, right? And I had that idea again. Is like, sometimes I'm just effing tired and I want to sit on the couch. I don't have enough to give to everybody. That in and of itself, like if you try to maintain a high bar for yourself, imagine what that says to your daughter. Like it's never going to be good enough. I mean, I don't know if it says that, but she could definitely, I could see her taking it that way. I could see any other human being like, there's no way I'm ever going to meet the bar because I'm always running to chase this bar that I set for myself, and it keeps moving. There's no like baseline of the bar. And so if you're always subjectively thinking about, is this going to be positive for this person? And that's going to be drastically different than, is this going to be positive for that person? What is that? What message are you sending to yourself and to everybody around you? Is like, the bar will never be met because I'm always habitually resetting it to make sure that you have a positive interaction. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong again, but what you just said about sitting on the couch watching football and having her play around you and kind of giving up or sacrificing some of the things that you intended or that you feel positive about, like I need to work out, I have these things. What do you deserve of yourself is really the question that comes up in my mind. Like, is there self-care? Are you compassionate about, man, I'm missing this thing because I'm trying to make these other people happy? I think there's something there to look a little bit closer at, and then realize at the same time that in doing that thing that you might feel like you don't deserve of yourself is actually giving somebody else, especially your daughter or those around you, a lesson that they deserve to have, instead of you always moving your own bar. Does that make sense?
I think so. And I started doing something this year that I've never done before my 18 years of teaching, and that is just having those conversations with kids. So
Which ones?
the conversations where I'm much more willing to be vulnerable and share, like, yeah, today is not my best day. Or as I was walking over here, driving over here, I didn't feel as fired up to be here as I often am, but you're here, and that's helpful for me. So like, I really am learning that. I think I've said this before, but that people are my coffee. So like, I will kind of be low energy until I start interacting with people. And then when I start interacting with people, like things just really pick up for me. In a positive way, energy wise, in my day.
Do you feel like those interactions that you're intentionally having with your students that you just talked about, do you feel like that meets your bar of what they deserve? You being vulnerable, you teaching them that vulnerability?
I do. Yeah. But it's really important that I also articulate to you and recognize myself is that those interactions with those people, they lift me up too. Like they're vital for me. Like I'm not just giving. I'm not just giving and giving and giving to these. Like there's a lot at take for me. And my life is better and more fruitful because of my students and because of my wife and because of my daughter, and because of my fitness and because of this podcast. So there's definitely a benefit for me doing it. It's not just, as my father used to say, I'm the pond and you all have straws and you're sucking from my pond. And nobody ever, he's talking about his financial pond, and nobody ever wants to put any water back into this pond. You just keep sucking. It's not that at all. Like I get so much from it, but I think it's finding the balance of the give and the take.
Yeah. I think balance is a great word to think about that, to tie it all back together. When I think about where I draw that from, and I'm like you, like certain people and certain mechanisms that I get to frequent with other people in proximity fill me up. Like if I'm doing something that aligns with the things that I hope to intentionally do with other people to help them achieve more, that fills me up like all the time. Like but in social constructs, I'm not like a social butterfly, like I'm not going to go, I mean, I will, but I don't typically walk up to other people's tables or whatever and just be like, introduce myself. And, I'm not a meet and greet kind of guy, but if I'm in it, in the certain context, then I'm that way. So that fills me up. And that's one of the things that I know about myself, that thing draws me towards it. So that gives me the energy. If I'm making cookies to help somebody else, I'm going to start a business doing that. If I'm creating CrossFit at the school to help other people, I'm going to go towards that way because I know that enough about myself that it draws me that way. We've had conversations, you and I, and I've had very deep conversations with my wife. She always says that, like, how come you're always helping everybody else? And when I look at, our family, you're not the same person. I get what she's saying, and I work on that, but I don't have an answer for it. And I've always been the way I mean, I try to chip away at it a little bit at a time. We've had the conversation too. Like, I feel like it gets easier as my kids get older, but I'm seeing again with my grandkids, like, I just get irritated at kids or with kids around. I don't know if it's noise or whatnot, but then I unplug and I go do the things that I know fill me up. So I don't know of a best way to articulate the balance of that to her, because she only sees it very lopsided. Like, you're always doing something for everybody else. When I need you or we need you here, you're mostly vacant, or, you're, somewhere else. So there's that. So I think it's a common thing that happens to people, that we feel this way, that we aren't ever enough, or we don't do enough in certain aspects of our life. But how I try to balance it is, am I having an impact somewhere else? And does that map to the way I hope, or to the things that fill me up? And then the other thing is, ADHD is an endless well of energy, right? So like, a lot of people don't have that, and a lot of people can't hyper focus on things to just drive them into it. And where other people will get tired or fatigued, like, I'll just be like, let's take on something else and do it. But it's always that merit of the dopamine hit that helps somebody else, that gets me moving, that keeps me shaking. That's
So
me.
if you find yourself engaged or involved in something, and then you have a realization like, this thing is not a fruitful use of my energy, what do you do?
Most of the time, I'll just completely turn it off, unplug it, and just move in another direction. So that drives my wife nuts as well, because one minute you're doing this other thing and she can't follow, and it's just like, well, that's not useful to me anymore. So I'm going to move along the other way. That's typically what I do.
You're able to do that fairly seamlessly?
Yeah, I can context switch on the drop of a dime, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't have a problem like leaving things undone if it's not serving me, right? Like, I'm sorry if you feel that way, but we're not doing that anymore. So I'm going over here. If you want to come with me, I'll be over there. But so yeah.
So when we first started hanging out, you literally owned a cookie business. One
Yep.
day a week, you'd go and make a bunch of cookies, package them. Like, it was like it's not like you were making them in your house and like giving them or selling them to your friends. Like,
No,
you had
it's
a
a
full
corporation.
on corporation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't do that anymore. At some point, you decided that was no longer serving you or in line with what you wanted to be. And did you just shut that thing down? Like, using that is that an
Yeah,
example that we could use?
sure. That's a multifaceted example. There's been two instances in Jocelyn and I's, that's my wife, in our partnership, I guess you would call it, where I've overrun her in that way. So the first one was before I did cookies, and cookies came because of it. We created like a small business. It wasn't like a full, I'm going out somewhere else to cook, USDA approved stuff. For the people in our gym, we started making these meals. I was like, I'm just going to start making box lunches for these people. Well, pretty soon she got drawn into it, and we're up at 2:00 in the morning making these, and she would side jab me like, yeah, I'm really tired when I wake up, like blah blah blah. And I was like, well, that's okay, I'm gonna go get more customers, and we're just gonna keep going. So I overran her, and it came to a head where she was like, I never asked to do this, like, I just did it because I'm here to support you, but it's way too much. And I was like, all right, well, how about the cookies? So that's how the cookie thing started. But then I did it again with the cookies, and I didn't really notice it until it had gone too far, like way too far. And thankfully, the pandemic came and kind of put the crux on like a lot of the mechanical aspects of it. Like, people aren't eating, they're not eating and conscious about their diet as much as they were. And, like, stores are closing and you can't go into the store to get these things anymore. So there was other mechanisms behind it, but ultimately it's too much work for us to do when I would just beat myself to death, and she no longer wanted to do it because she never signed up for it anyway. So in those contexts, I fail to realize when I'm overloading somebody else or even overloading myself, but I would still be doing that myself if everything was still there. So, I mean, I don't know if that answers your question, but using that as an example is one of those things that fills me with joy. I enjoy the hell out of it. It was expensive to do, and I probably couldn't do it now that I'm not employed as like I was, but I eventually would have had to turn it off. But when I did turn it off, I felt a great relief because I could see the relief in her that that she no longer has to do that with me. She was like, oh my God. So yeah, sometimes I miss it, but more often than not, it's not that large of a thing. There's not that many people involved, right? So, yeah.
I've been doing a lot of self-reflection lately. Whenever I have quiet time, that often is like when I'm driving or when I'm mowing the lawn or something. And I'm just trying to like diagnose what the heck's going on. Like, how come I just don't feel like I have energy for the things that I feel are important? So I go down a couple different like possible rabbit holes, right? Like,
Yeah.
am I just spending energy on stuff that doesn't matter? And then when it comes to spending energy on stuff that does matter, I'm out of energy? Or have I taken on too many things and the bandwidth is just impossible at this point? Like, have I not turned anything off, as you say, or let anything go, but I just keep adding? Or is it straight up like I'm just getting older and I just don't have the energy that I had 3 or 4 or 5 years ago? And I also definitely think that there's something going on in my sleep. I'm seeing a sleep specialist this week to kind of diagnose that. But
Congrats.
I'm like kind of going down a bunch of different holes. What could that be? And I think, as you know, the step for me is, all right, what's within my control? Like, of those things, what's within my control? I think, well, I have X amount of units of energy. For easy math, let's just call it 100. How am I dividing that 100 up over the course of my day? What am I giving to my family? What am I giving to my profession? What am I giving to myself or my own fitness? And what am I giving to the other relationships in my life? My mom, my brothers, my friends. For me, this conversation always includes a little bit of like housework or home ownership as well. And then like the things that like I want to be doing that are fun, and I think that I'm finding that like the little things that always just gave me like great pleasure, like things I really look forward to, like I just don't seem to have the zeal for them in the way that I did. I'm not like going off the cliff or anything, but I'm just noticing little differences. And I'm like, how can I tweak, as you say, tweak the levers or pull the levers to kind of get me closer to where I want to be? I'm just curious to know for you, like when you're feeling that way, how you navigate that.
I will completely reset. And for me, it's kind of a painful process, but I think it's only because I allow so many things to amass that it's painful that I have to let them go. So it's kind of like you're saying, like, how do you know which one? So when you were just saying all that you were just saying, I think to myself, it's kind of like the spoons theory. I don't know if you're familiar with spoons theory. Like I only have so many spoons, right? So have you ever taken a look at how many spoons you're allowing yourself to allocate in a certain area, and then setting a boundary that says, I'm not going over these amount of spoons, and just try that at a small pace. And then, people will begin to notice like, oh, well, before I think you used soccer, like you were coaching soccer or something, right? Like I want to have spoons to coach soccer this time. Like, well, what do you want me to do? Right. But I like, have you ever really just taken stock in all of the different things and then figured it out?
I have done that lately. And I had a great conversation with a colleague and we were saying like, all right, if you use spoons, I use units of energy, but
yeah, sure.
Todd's spoon analogy is just, if you are given X amount of spoons, I don't know why it's spoons, but it is. When you wake up in the morning and each thing you do costs spoons, so to speak, once you've given all your spoons, you got nothing left.
Yeah.
How are you going to allocate your spoons throughout the day? And for me, it's like, all right, I was just using a scale 1 to 100. So I get 100 spoons, 100 units of energy. What, like in a perfect world, or how I say I want to live a fulfilled life, like what does a school day get?
Yeah.
What does home get?
Yeah.
And
because it sounds like maybe you're willing to overrun your spoon, right? Like, well,
absolutely. Or if I have 100 a day and I give 98 at school, where does that leave me for the next 6 hours of my life when I get home? right?
Football.
So that's such a great excuse to just do nothing. Oh, yeah. Amazing. I think what I struggle with is, so I can say, all right, well, I'm going to give 70 or 70. Let's call it for 3/4. I'm going to give 75 spoons at school today. And things come along and people need me in ways that I feel that I can be of value.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't not give 80, 85.
That's
90.
what you need to look at. You can't not, because now you're stealing. Yeah. You're stealing from the other side.
I am. I'm stealing from the other. And really, I love my students and they're amazing. And I love my colleagues and I love my school. Yeah. But the things that are going to be with me in the long run, 50 years from now,
there it is,
are not those things. It's my wife, my daughter, my health, those things.
Yeah.
So, and I'm aware of this, like even before we sat down, this is not a realization for me, but tactically, how do I give less during the day? And that's what I met with my friend about. And he's like, all right. He's like, let's just boil that down. You teach 3 classes a day. You run an advisory every day. Where can you give less? And that's what we talked about. And that was really helpful for me. It was like, all right, let's break the school day down into the parts of the school day. And let's break when I'm home. Like I've shared so many times in this podcast, like I would just love to have the mental strength. And it sounds so simple, but it's challenging for me to just get home, turn my phone off and put it in a different room and not go near it until after Lauren goes to bed. And I still like, I just want to look something up real quick.
Well, I'm using it for a tool.
My friends make me so happy and I'm just feeling kind of low energy right now. So if I text them and get a funny text, like that'll
Yeah,
hit me with
yeah, yeah.
dopamine. That'll feel good, and
Give me a hit.
and of course, a lot of the most important people in my life, I use my phone to text them to keep in touch. I don't mindlessly scroll on social media. I don't get stuck on, except for the YouTube rabbit hole that I talked about last episode, but that's
Yeah.
fairly intentional. I don't,
You're
I
aware
don't,
of that. Yeah, right.
yeah, I don't thumb through TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or any of that. Like, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just about like breaking down my units. But like, if I know I need to give less units at school, where and how?
Yeah, yeah. Hold on a second, because I just read this thing that resonates. Hold on a second. I was going to send this to you, but I didn't, and so it's apt. This comes from the pages of Mindful Magazine. You ready?
Ready.
Wisdom arises out of our mind's capacity to be aware, which is not the same as thinking. Wisdom allows us to know what is happening in each moment and respond appropriately with our words, with our actions, with our thoughts. Sometimes responding appropriately means not doing anything at all, simply meeting each moment as it comes. Wisdom is a moment-to-moment awareness of what's arising internally and externally. It begins with developing concentration, which allows us to let go of our thoughts and our plans and be in the present moment. So when you start thinking about wisdom, it's and it kind of, I think for me, listening to what you said, it kind of goes with, I'm getting older. I'm starting to see these things. Like I'm starting to realize that these are the things, right? It's taking in the vast majority of things and then having the wisdom and the wherewithal to do something about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
now that I know that I'm overloading spoons everywhere, what am I going to do about it? And what's in alignment with my intention.
In that paragraph you just read, it talked about being present. I recently heard being present is being where your feet are, right? So my physical,
Yep.
my physical or mental is in this moment right now. And I wonder, Todd, if I'm spending extra energy that I don't need to be spending on not being present. Like my mind
Thinking
is
about everything.
thinking and spinning about 100 other things. And then I'm trying to like get back in the moment, and maybe I didn't catch what someone said because my mind was spinning about something else, and that takes extra energy to be like kind of
For sure.
like catch myself back up in the moment. And I'm wondering if I can figure out a mechanism to be more present and to let my mind chill out a little bit, if I would use less energy and be more efficient in any given moment.
Yeah, mindfulness will get you that. It takes a lot of practice, but it's funny because when you took that year of driving in your car with no podcast, no audio, whatever like that, did you find that your brain is just everywhere? Like, I'm always thinking about what I'm going to do when I get to school. I'm always thinking about how I can't wait to fill this void with something else. I mean, that's an indicator.
Yeah, but I've known that about myself forever. Like,
yeah. Again, what are you going to do, right? When when
Yeah.
the rubber meets the road, before it's way too late, you've
Yeah.
got to start being more aware and more involved, right? In where your mind goes.
And I've also shared with you in the past, like I tend to fill my day with noise, and I think that's partly not even recognizing. I'm realizing this in real time as we're talking right now, that might be a mechanism for me to just cope with it and not really face it or deal with it.
Could be.
To just kind of, like I don't have to be mindful because I'm listening to music right now. I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm listening to sports radio,
or you're making excuses for
out.
Yeah, right.
Like without
There's
even
a word,
recognizing it, like I'm just not doing the hard thing because this thing's easier to do right now.
Yeah, any number of reasons why we don't do the things we know we should be doing. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's almost complacency, right? Like, yeah, I'll do that later, or yeah, I'll eat right next week. I mean, it's just pushing it a little further down the road, but someday you're not going to have that further down the road. And then you're going to be like, man, I should have just started when I knew I should have started. And that's kind of what we always chase.
Yeah. Obviously, we don't know, but I think there's things that we can all say, well, I really should start that today. But then there's things that we should have started today that we didn't even realize we should have started today.
Yeah, sure. But that's why we talk to people who we trust and give us feedback, right? Like, oh, you didn't even see that? No. Well, how was I supposed to know that? I didn't see it till today. And then you're going to go have some ahas, and you're going to come back and be like, oh, look, I've changed direction. I mean, that's how life works, right?
Have you felt any change in your levels of stress, levels of energy, the way you spin your spoons since you've been out of work?
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to a gal today that was promoted. She was promoted to a director in HR, and I knew her when she was in marketing, and we spent a lot of time in different circles inside of work. And she was telling me about, like, she just set up a quick 20-minute meeting with me so we can catch up. And she spent an inordinate amount of time talking about her life at work. And she's like, so I've been talking about myself for like 25 minutes. What have you been up to? And I was like, it becomes very clear to me how tied up you get in the things that you think are important to the people, to yourself, or even to the people you're talking to. And I told her, I was like, it gives me great pause to listen to you talk about the things that are impacting your life. Like, they're tangible for her. Like, this is nightmare or whatever, it's hard for her. But for me, it's like, I'm so glad that now I can see into that darkness and know that I was stuck in the same thing. So in a many ways, for me, it's freeing now. Like, it has been scary. And sometimes I still, I don't know the word, wish isn't right, but like, sometimes I fantasize, I suppose, about still being at work and still being involved with all the cool things. And like, oh, AI is breaking now and everything inside of there's probably way different, but how I would love to see what my friends' reactions to that stuff is inside of this other community that I lived in for so long. But now I'm like, I have more awareness now, and I have more times where I'm just like, wow, I bet you it's chaos in that place. And she just, a lot of her words just reinforced like what I thought. Like, it's chaotic. People are, acting in ways that they didn't act when I was there. So it's like I close a chapter, and there's a lot less stress now. I spend a lot more time looking at things that, again, things that fill me up, things that I would like to do. I'd spend a lot more time with my family, but there's another stressor coming, right? Because Jocelyn will say sometimes, oh, I have to go to work tomorrow. I'm like, come on. And she's like, well, somebody's got to work. And I'm like, oh, that's a cheap shot, right? And so like pretty soon, unemployment's going to run out, and I'll have to start looking at, mechanisms by which to, keep this boat afloat. And I know that's coming, and there's little zings, right? So I don't know. It's like, it's that balance. How do you account for the feeling you have that you like, that's, I wouldn't say is comfortable, but, and then how do you know when it's time to proceed in a direction that's going to help you grow? I think those are the hardest things of life. Is I know I need to grow. In which direction do I take the next step, even if it's the shakiest step ever, right? Like, where do I go? So
when I lived in Vietnam, I'd wake up in the morning and go for a walk or do a workout before I went to school to teach. And every morning when I walked out of my house, it was one of three distinct smells. And all three of those smells were different smells of something burning, because there's no trash infrastructure where I live. So everybody just burned their stuff. Literally just take your trash from the day before, put it in front of your house and light it on fire. Didn't matter if it was dirty diapers, didn't matter if it was plastic bottles.
Such smells.
So there was always a smell of something burning. And it was like one of those three different like configurations of the smelling of something burning. Yep. And I thought to myself, when I go home back to Vermont and I walk out of my house in the morning, I'm not going to smell this like trash that's burning. It's like the fresh air of Vermont, right? I wonder how long it's going to be until I start to take that for granted. Is that going to be a month, a day, a year? But at some point I'm going to walk out of my house in Vermont and not go, oh, this is so nice. I'm not smelling burning plastic. And I don't know when that happened, but it was inevitable. And I tried to push it back for as long as possible. Same thing after my bike ride, right? I was like, I get home and I was like, so the wind is everything. When you ride your bike, at least for me, across country, you are hyper aware of the wind direction and the wind speed at all times. And without even recognizing it, you're constantly looking at branches that are blowing in the wind, flags that are blowing in the wind, like birds that are flying in the air and how they're dealing with the wind, because the wind really, it's a big determinant of how your day is going to go.
Yeah.
Headwinds, crosswinds, tailwinds, the whole deal. And I remember I finished the bike ride and I walked, like I was home the next day, and I walked outside, and the first thing I did was check for wind. I'm like, I wonder how long it's going to be now that I'm not in this bike ride.
That's awesome.
That I won't check for winds, So all this to say, at some point, if you get back in the fray of a career, and you just mentioned you were talking to your former colleague and you see that she's kind of in the dark, or it's caught up in the darkness, how long till you're caught up in the darkness, or how long can you stave off not being caught up in the darkness?
Absolutely. Or
now that you've had this realization about yourself of being away from work, will you ever get caught up in the darkness again, or will you just stave it off for a while, but it's inevitable to be in it?
Yeah, it's inevitable. I think that right on the edge of the darkness and the light, the razors, that's where growth happens. Like if you get into a new career, let's say I go into a career that's completely different than what I had been in. Hopefully, we'll pray on that later. Anyways, I'm going to have to learn to come up to speed to be an effective individual in that role, right? So I'm going to have to I might have to put an entire leg into that lake of darkness just in order to learn that thing. And sure, it's going to suck a little bit more out of me. Pretty soon it'll start to involve the conversations I have with my wife, or, just it's inevitable that that's going to happen. But I think that I constantly question what is lost in that. And it's very hard to keep in perspective. I see what you're getting at. It's like how much of what I know I shouldn't be giving away am I giving away in order to move forward, right? But I think there's always some sort of barter. You always have to give a little to get a little. I think that awareness, that's a tough one. Yeah, that one gets me all the time. But yeah, I can see how that's a challenge.
And I think oftentimes, like when you decide to pull away or something pulled away from you, and it was outside of your
Yeah,
control,
right.
you realize, holy crap, like that thing consumed me and consumed all the people that were in it with me. But now that I'm not part of that thing, there's so many people on this planet who aren't even aware that thing even
Yeah,
exists.
absolutely.
And it's really not that big of a thing.
And it's very strange. Like the longer you're in it, at least it was for me, and this was kind of by accident, but I don't think it was. A lot of my friends, even friends that I made through CrossFit in completely different sectors, or cultural, whatever you want, community things, are people who are very similar. They're in IT industry for a long time. Like we have so much in common that that sometimes I wonder, have they only became my friend because I met them there and we had that in common,
Right.
or you know what I mean? So it's like there's so many circles of interconnectedness that you don't even realize, and that's just another layer of, is this thing sucking me in or is it not? Because now I'm like, wow, I don't really have anybody to talk to about the things that I'm finding important with those people who have been my friends for a very long time, because we know we have one less thread in common. And it's really
Yeah.
bizarre. It's like when we get together, it's semi awkward for a minute because they're like, oh, so how's work? Well, I don't work. Well, what's going on with your work? Well, it's all changed. It's nothing you're going to understand anymore. So
Mm.
we don't really have anything to talk about. So let's just drink beer. And that's not healthy either. So it's like, it's maintaining that balance and an
Mm.
awareness of, this isn't working. This still works. I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah. I think that's it goes back to wisdom, right? Like you have to be able to realize the pattern, and you have to really be willing to do something with it, or else you're just going to stagnate, sit on the couch and fall into a pit of, whatever it is that you feel is comfortable.
And watch football while your daughter is playing around you.
Right.
So right now with your days when you're not working, what are you prioritizing? How are you spending your energy?
My health is first. And my I guess my sanity, my mental health comes first. Like I do a lot of things. I do that schooling, but now I'm keeping a journal where I'm seeing what if like different supplements will impact my ability to learn in the school. If I do yoga first, is that helping? If I go running first, is that helping? So I'm mixing all of these things in an effort to do better in that realm. But I realize that there's another huge piece too. In May 19th, May 20th, actually, I'm going to stop drinking completely. Like I've drinking way too much in my life, and this last year has probably been some of the most ignorant drinking I've ever done in my life. And I got this Garmin device on my watch and my wrist, and I watch my sleep just decline. And I'm like, oh, it's Sunday night. I'm going to watch football all day on Sunday, and like the sleep score, you totally tells the tale. You can just see it bounce and spike and move all over the place. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Like this is so ridiculous. And so I've cut almost all the way off now, in an effort to move that marker towards, this has been a very long milestone for me to get to that point, and I've spoken into existence, and it's going to happen. And it kind of touches on what I was saying earlier. Like I feel like I'm going to lose 95% of my friends because that's all we do is get together, go to taverns, we go to different breweries, and it's just like that's just what we do. And I'm like kind of pushing, like all of these things are going to combine at one time, and it's going to be very interesting to see. But that's why I'm fortifying my mental health, like to be prepared for, or the best I can. Like when this happens, it's going to be a major shift. And, I mean, this is where people find life changing events like, oh, I decided me and my wife weren't going to be married anymore. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's like, I'm preparing myself for what's to come next, because I know it's going to be a very large shift from what people historically have seen from me. So,
yeah. What's the significance of May 20th? Is it your son's birthday?
No, May 19th is my youngest son's 21st birthday. And I told him I would get him through his 2021 run. So we're going to make that happen. And then, because I've done all the rest of the kids, so I figured don't leave him in the dark. Plus, I like to drink beer.
So you'll get after it with him on his 21st birthday, and then that'll
on
be
the
it
19th, and then 20th I'll be done drinking. So,
yeah,
that's going to be a big one. I was just thinking about it the other day because I remember when I came to your house, when I visited Vermont, I mean, 2016, 2018, something like that. I was in a dry spell, and because it was the first time I did keto, like to a fault. Yeah. I remember there was like this crazy tavern you sent me to get a hamburger, And I so just wanted to sit there and drink beers because it was like
Yeah.
the coolest place. And I was like, I can't. And that place pops into my mind all the time. I'm like, I got to get there before I quit drinking beer. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I mean, it's just those kind of things that I associate with. It's just like, how do you detach from those things that you've been thinking for so long?
Yeah.
That's what I do. So yeah, I spend a lot of my time working on that. Yeah, yoga, running, just things that I know I will be physically ready for whatever comes when it hits. So
yeah, because you've said to me many times, you understand about yourself. If you're going to give something up, you need to replace it with something.
absolutely. Yeah.
And what I'm hearing you say is, yep, I'm going to give up beer, but not only it's not just giving up the drink, it's giving up all the things that are associated with it.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a hole that I need to fill. I'm going to start to practice filling that with these things that fortify my mental and physical health.
Yep.
So they can be helpful for me when I'm.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've had conversations. At what age do you feel old? And I've decided to myself, I'm not going to feel old at this age anymore because like there are things I can do for I'm pretty physically fit, but I could be a lot more physically fit. I'm pretty, there's balance. There's always areas of physical fitness that you can always count on to be doing better at. But I feel like those things are more productive than, like you said, like trying to act like the hole is not empty. Like there's definitely going to be a hole. There's things I can do that are going to help myself in the long run. And those are the things I'm focused on. So
it's awesome.
And hopefully if work align, if the next position or the next career I find aligns with that, then I mean, all the better, right? Like whatever I learn from here, I can go in that direction. So easily said, not so easy to perform, but
like many things in life. Well, thanks for taking the time to chat with me tonight.
Yeah, for real. This was great.
Spent a lot of time kind of thinking about ways that we can make these episodes fruitful for listeners. But tonight I was just like, I just want to have a conversation with Todd, and wherever it goes, it goes.
That's awesome.
I love your thoughts and perspectives.
Same.
Both based on what you know about me and now how you manage it for yourself, and kind of hearing both of those angles is really helpful for me. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's cool because I think that we've seen each other grow, or maybe sometimes go backwards, but we've seen each other long enough now to see the changes and like know the difference. Like I don't know you very well, but I know you pretty well in the podcast. And it's like I can almost see where you were. And it's like, now I can see a different Peter, and I can see where you're going through all of the different endpoints that we've shared. And I think that's really cool because it's like, no, but you said over here, or it's kind of like my daughter. Yeah. Well, you said that, right? So it's like, it's very, it adds another level of accountability for me. And I want to thank you for that. I think that's really cool because I usually hold myself pretty accountable, but not a lot of times am I able to share that with people who will actually hold me to it. So I think that's really cool about our relationship.
Awesome. Well, to the listeners out there, if you're still here hanging out, we appreciate it.
If you even hear it.
if you didn't turn it off after the first 5 minutes, getting into Pete's struggles. schoolingstruggle@gmail.com. Go ahead and reach out for any thoughts, perspectives, or insights you want to share, any feedback you want to give. I really do get fueled by anybody reaching out. So for those of you who are taking time and energy to reach out, thank you so much. It's a big deal if the listeners take 45 minutes of their life and spend it listening to us. It's really cool to me. I love it.
Especially listening to us.
And fueled by it. Yeah. But to all the listeners out there, we appreciate your ears. We thank you for your time. We are incredibly grateful for your attention. We are the School and Struggle Podcast. We are out.
See ya.